Hey, welcome back to Triple R. Hey, Christian, sorry I'm late, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like 30 minutes. I'm like 30 minutes late to our agreed
it's
upon time.
and it's not because of technical difficulty for once because we are no longer in person. I think this will be the first episode to come out after my trip to the Los Angeles County metropolitan area.
Yeah, this is our first back to reality podcast since you've been here,
And
and I
probably
am
why it sounds normal
so much
again.
better. Yeah, I'm actually relieved to be doing it this way again because let me just tell everybody, and believe me, they'll know. We don't even have to announce it,
Yeah,
but it was a nightmare. You can tell by the sound quality. You can tell by the
it
it's just it's terrible. Don't do a podcast in person unless you have money to
and
do like mixers and shit because we don't have that.
probably could have got a $20 mixer from Amazon, and it would have made everything easier.
Where's Sir Mix a Lot when you need them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 30 minutes late to our agreed upon time. I got very distracted by the Olympic breaking events, and I wanted to see who won gold.
Yeah.
Shouts out to Phil Wizard from Canada.
A Canadian won it?
Canada, yeah. Canada won gold, and then France silver, and the USA third, bronze.
Ooh. I feel like we should have won it considering it's like
It
here.
started in the Bronx, yeah.
Yeah, but it also took me far too long because I think when I came in, I didn't realize it was like the people's like breakdancing like nicknames or whatever, and not their actual names.
Yeah, like Danny Dan or Danny or Danny Dan is the French guy, and I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, like and then I was like, oh, that makes because I think the first time I watched it was people who like not English names. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting like Slovakian name.
Yeah, Kazakhstan was there. I thought that was kind of cool. They had a really
Oh,
fun. They had a really fun guy. I can't remember his name, but he was very unorthodox. So it threw everybody for a loop. I think he'll be back.
yeah. Well, I don't know. The Olympics are, or at least breakdancing will not be in the 2028 LA Games.
Did they already announce that?
They have for sure, and
Oh
then
shit!
for the 2032 in Brisbane, Australia, they're
Nice.
undecided, and I think they are going to try to wash away that embarrassment from there.
I
from
don't
their
understand. I don't understand the embarrassment. I mean, besides that one woman from Australia, I don't understand the whole like being upset about breaking in the Olympics. I mean, she's my hero personally.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's an Olympic event that your whole country has maybe 5 people to perform, I would probably it would be like sending us to the podcast Olympics.
yeah,
Like I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna do well. I'm gonna be
yeah,
embarrassing, but I'm gonna go for a free, what is it, 2 week trip to
yeah.
Paris. I mean, I'm gonna go. Why not?
I'm about to just go off on all I read about this because I got way too curious about this.
About
So
breaking in specific or
yeah,
the Olympics?
both.
Oh shit.
How it came to be. So like, I love how the Olympics were like, hey, we need to get Gen Z to watch more. Marketing did the numbers. Gen Z's not watching. What should we put in? You know what Gen Z loves apparently is breakdancing.
They've got a point. I mean, I'm wearing my beanie to
Mhm.
represent breaking. I mean, I've never cared about breaking before
Yeah,
now.
I will say that
I'm
is
not
it
Gen
is.
Z, but
And
semantics.
so they were like, hey, wait a second, there is no like federation for breakdancing because it's breakdancing and it's
Yeah.
very like counterculture.
It takes place on the street corner in an alley on a cardboard box. There's no
Yeah.
federation for this.
Yep. And
There's no
so
doping rules.
they're like, okay, who is the what organization would be closest to this? Oh, let's go to ballroom dancing.
Jesus. Which also, if I'm not mistaken, is not an Olympic event.
So they really want to be. They were like, "Hey guys, like maybe don't add breakdancing." They're like, "Shut up, ballroom dancing. Gen Z
Shut up,
hates you.
nerds.
Dancing with the Stars ruins you."
I gotta say, honestly, that line dancing sounds kind of fun to have at the Olympics.
Honestly, I think
We would
ballroom.
destroy, by the way. USA would just take
Yeah,
home the gold, no problem.
I feel like ballroom dancing, like it's one of those ones like, hey, is ballroom dancing a Olympic sport? And I would be like, I don't know, because it feels like it could be. Like
I
it,
guess in the same way that maybe ice skating is, but
yeah,
I would consider more maybe like salsa dancing.
yeah.
It's a little
Sometimes,
bit more free form. It's a little bit more exciting. Ballroom
well,
dancing is just kind of slow and boring.
have you watched dancing? No,
Do
but
you know anything about dancing, dude?
But also with the Olympics, there's some stuff that is like so fucking. They have dressage, which is just dancing with horses. So,
That's true. That's true.
uh,
I
um,
always found that weird, by the way, to stick with that topic for a second. I find it weird that there's Olympic events that judge humans on animals' performances.
well, it's how you control that animal.
I mean, yeah, torture and
Yeah.
bribery and who's just the best at bribing the animals to do what they
Do you
want.
want your apples when we get home? You get no apples now. Like, it's kind of a sad sport when you really think. And it's
That's what I
also like,
mean.
it's also such an elitist sport of
It
like,
is. Only the
it's
rich people can do that.
yeah. And there's even like a like uber rich people like event. I'm trying to remember what the fuck it's called.
Is it called owning humans?
It's essentially what it is. So
Yeah.
it's like a, I think it's not a heptathlon, but essentially, so it's horse riding, shooting guns while running. I think fencing's part of
Oh
it.
yeah, fencing.
And that, I can't remember what the other things are. I
Talk
am
about a
not.
sport that I have no idea what the hell is going on. Fencing. How do you know who stabbed who?
Yeah, they have sensors in like their chest
Mm.
nowadays. I think it used to be a gentlemanly sport and be like, oh no, he has stabbed me.
I assure
Uh,
you, he has won. He has
yeah.
bested me.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. So yeah, breakdancing. So, um, how it came to be with the Australian woman, it's so uh, the ballroom dancing federation was like, okay, we're gonna have a competition to to get select people for each country, and so for the continent area, I don't know, of Oceania, so like Australia, New Zealand, the surrounding islands, only had 15 women show up, which
That's actually a pretty
is
good turnout.
it's less than what you would normally see on a public bus of people.
I mean, we would have killed for 15 women to show up to our parties back in the day.
Yeah, like but yeah, an entire like, I don't know how many people live in that area, but it's got to be quite, I don't even know
It's
if that's like,
probably more than 15.
yes, let's just say that. And so yeah, I get people being mad about the artist known as Raygun.
Oh, dude, she is my hero, by the way. We can get into that in a second, but
Yeah, she's just just a professor at a university.
that's so awesome. I love the fact that I mean, she clearly was just one of those people who saw an opportunity and
Yeah.
took it, and
Oh,
I cannot fault her
I
for
don't
that at all.
blame her at all, cuz
She's
like,
like, all I have to do is show up and do some dance moves on a stage,
yeah,
and I get a free, what is it, 2 week trip to Paris?
and you forever get to say you were an Olympian.
Yeah, like you didn't qualify, but most people don't anyway, so who cares?
Um,
That would be like sending us to the podcast Olympics.
yes, yes. It's
Like, yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna go. We're not gonna do well. We're not gonna place, but I'll go and take a free trip.
It's yeah. But then I also get the sense, if you're an actual, no, I don't want to say an actual Olympian, if you're the other Olympians where you've like spent your entire life, you've sacrificed, you've done everything possible to even get a chance to compete at the Olympics, and you're like, wait a minute, I could have just like awkwardly dry rated my body around and I could have been here.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that outlook because, for instance, I'm not by no means am I any type of athlete, but I'm decent at basketball. Like
Yeah.
for a random short 5'6" white guy with glasses, I'm okay. That would be like me being upset that somebody who's never played basketball before comes on the court and wants to play me. It should be an easy win, and I shouldn't be upset by it. Like I've put in time because it's something that I'm good at and it's something that I want to achieve. If
Yeah.
some newbie wants to come in and challenge me, I should be like, okay, you're like, sure, that's an easy dub for me. Like
Yeah,
if you view that as a waste of time, it's like maybe you're not utilizing your time properly.
I think it's a lot different than what you just had a
I don't know,
metaphor.
man. I think that
I
was a
would say your
pretty spot.
metaphor was pretty fucking shitty.
I think I could go to the Olympics of metaphors. To be honest with you, that was pretty killer.
That was not at all.
No, I don't know. I mean, who cares? I guess my thought process is who cares? So somebody spent 2 weeks training for the Olympics when you spent 4 years, then go win. It should be an easy win for you.
Yeah,
Who
it's still
cares?
like the like of it's just the Olympics should be, at least in my mind, a like it's so prestigious, right?
Speaking of
Like,
elitist, you're
yeah,
the guy who's performing on the horses. That's what you are, up on your high
just
horse, not
dressage.
giving not giving them apples. Fucking asshole.
He does. I was trying to think of a good horse name. Cinnamon didn't deserve him.
Cinnamons worked her whole life, and now
Dude,
she's got to be turned into
we
glue because somebody trained for 2 weeks.
it's I don't want to go on a rant about horses, but yeah, like if you're like a horse at like a normal farm, I think you probably have a pretty chill life, right? You just eat some hay, just chill. But if you're like a performance horse, it's got to be not great, right?
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's with anything. If you're training your whole life to do something physical, I
Yeah,
feel like it's probably not the best life ever.
that's true.
Because you don't get
That,
to. I mean, you get somebody like me. Or, I mean, we could. Here's another comparison for you. It's like you training for marathons and me sitting and drinking Michelob Ultras all day. You know what I mean? Like you have to train for a marathon. Your
yeah,
feet are destroyed. You got to constantly think about calories in versus calories out, staying hydrated. You drink fucking salt water. And I'm
that's
sitting
true.
here being like, man, that sounds terrible as I'm just getting drunk on my couch every Saturday.
But
Who's got
also,
who's got a more enjoyable life?
I got to eat 6 donuts today without feeling any guilt because
Hey, I don't feel
I
any guilt about eating 6 donuts either.
it was that's my little treat to myself is like, ooh, I ran 20 miles this morning.
Ugh.
And so I just got to be like, I literally need food in me. I just
Any
need
any type of food is good for you.
Yeah, at this point I just
Yeah.
need to maintain my body, like substance into it. So I was like, I want Krispy Kreme donuts, and so I proceeded to
Fresh?
smash. Yes.
Did you get them fresh? Because I was like, you
Yes.
get up early, you probably got the first batch.
No, because I had to. It takes a while to run 20 miles,
Really?
even if you do
I wouldn't know.
wake. Yeah. Well, I don't know. And I'm now switching to on topic of LA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's quicker in LA to run 20 miles or try to drive 20 miles on the 10.
That's a tough
It's a
choice. It depends.
It's about even, I think, from my experience.
Yeah, it also depends on whether or not you sideswipe another car on the freeway.
That
That
does happen
tends
sometimes.
that tends to throw a wrench in the plan.
That does, especially when you want to go get Asian Cajun food, is what I'm
Dude,
referring to that restaurant.
I was just in a really big hurry to go get some oysters,
Oysters.
and let's just say we've lived here for almost 6 years, and I just got in my first accident in LA. That's not bad. It's not bad. You just happen to be here, so now I'll
I was
never live
about
it
to
down.
say, I feel like slightly responsible because I was just in the car.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to show off
Yeah.
and show you, like, oh, it's not that bad driving here, and just absolutely clipped
Crunch.
another
Crunch.
car.
All things
And
considered, it was like to have an accident in LA on the interstate, best case scenario.
for what? Yeah, for what happened to us. Yeah. It wasn't bad at all. It was no damage to the other car, which is great. Fucked up Abby's car a little bit.
Nah, not terrible, but not great.
Not too bad.
The door was a little crunchy. Noise.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just the old side of me, like the old Damien would be like, that was fucker's fault who cut me off and slammed on his brakes.
Yeah.
But the new Damien's like, no, it was my fault. I instead of just because I didn't need to be in the left lane, I needed to be in the right lane. So I could have I could have just stopped behind the guy and just chilled, and I needed to be in that lane anyways. But I was frustrated at him flipping me off and cutting me off, and then brake checking me on the freeway that I tried to pass him, and then I fucked it up. So it was 100% my fault, even though I would love to blame that asshole.
If you're Damien's insurance, you didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, the claim's already filed.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, old Omaha road rage Damien came out. I feel like I brought that out in you by accident.
Yeah, and that it wasn't even that bad. I honked and swerved.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I probably would have actually stopped
and gotten to a
and gotten out. Yeah. Now I was like, nah, fuck it, I'll just pass him. And that's what I get for not having a bad attitude anymore.
Getting into it.
I've learned my lesson. I'm going back to the old me.
And that was literally I was leaving the next day too.
Yeah. So always got to set a precedent. Always got to make sure that you're aware of what life could be like outside of your hometown. Speaking of which, how's it being back? I know it's not your hometown, but
yeah, it pretty much is.
Are you readjusting? It's been what, a week now?
Yeah. Also, it was like, so what really made it nice is LA is weather-wise, most Midwest thing talking about the fucking weather, but it was like you guys were going through a apparent heat wave, which
it was really hot.
Everyone kept bitching about, and I was like, it's not that. Like, it was hot, but like I think Lincoln was warmer and the humidity higher. So I was like, oh yeah, no, actually it's worse back home where I came from.
Yeah.
So when I got back to Lincoln, we got a huge cold front that came through.
And we were talking about that when you were here.
Yeah.
We were talking about how you have to look out for tornadoes because it was when you left to come here, it was like 95 degrees. And when you landed back in Lincoln, it was like, what, 70?
Oh, yeah. It's been like high 70s since I've been back.
Yeah, that is a recipe for a tornado.
And overcasty. It's been fucking perfect. It's so a little bit like that's been a nice adjustment. And it made me realize coming back of how much I love trees, like just the side of trees and like how much shade they provide. Cause like, I was like, I know this is going to sound dumb as fuck of like, oh yeah, like California's sunny. But then I was like, oh yeah, it's sunny all the time, but there's no shade. You can't escape the sun. There's literally like, you have trees, but like not shady trees.
They're not I mean, it's 60-foot palm trees.
Yeah, with a little. They're not
providing shade.
Top. Yeah,
they're not providing shade, and whatever isn't dedicated to trees is dedicated to concrete.
Yeah, just blistering heat, absorbing concrete, and so like, one of my runs this week, there's a really nice like old gravel trail that runs through like a foresty area, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this a lot. Even though
you had a rough time running here.
So I did in West Covina because it is mountainous, as I now know,
and hot
and no shade. But when I ran on the beach out in Santa Monica and then down Venice to Del Mar, or not Del Mar, what's the
Playa del Rey, right?
The marina.
Marina del Rey. Yeah.
Marina del Rey. That was really nice, even though it was sunny. But that nice sea breeze just made it, and it's flat, so that was nice.
The hills are what killed you.
Yeah, on my run though, I thought I heard you laughing. I thought I heard your laugh, but it just turned out to be a seal. I've been saving that joke for like a week now.
No wonder every time we went to a comedy show while you were here, they fucking called me out for laughing. They're like, this fucking guy sucks, dude. Get him out of here. We almost got kicked out. Yeah, dude. Every time we go to a comedy show, I get fucking heckled by the comedian.
And it's in a good way too, though. I guess, do we want to talk about the comedy show? Like,
absolutely.
I was described it. People are like, "Oh yeah, how was it?" And that, and I was like, "It was great, but we were almost too busy." Like
Yeah.
I think there was like my entire trip of not sleeping, of not like being asleep. I think we only like weren't doing something for like 3 hours. It felt like.
Yeah, and most of that time was us just sitting on the couch looking at our phones to try to decompress for a minute and get
Yeah,
out of the heat. Because I know you're talking about how Omaha is hotter
yeah,
than LA, but also what people don't understand, just for clarification, the sun here is so much
yes,
hotter. Like in Omaha, the how do I say, the temperature is feels hotter. Like the outside world feels hotter,
yes.
but the sun here will just bake you alive.
It that I will agree on because
There's not a cloud in the sky. I think you said that like 18 times while you were
there
here. You
there
would look up
was
because you're like, "Ooh, that sun is hot," and then you look up and there's not one speck of white cloud in the sky.
because yeah, I've been running outside all summer and like I have a decent base tan for me. And yeah, the sun, I think I went on that first run and I was like, oh, I got pretty sunburnt.
Yeah, your neck specifically was very
Yeah.
very
And then I was like, oh
burned,
yeah,
very burned.
if I go outside at all, I need sunscreen. And
Yeah, actually, while Christian was here, I gotta send him a fucking bill because while Christian was here, he used 2 full spray sunscreen bottles, like the Costco size.
I finished one and I might have used a one.
Yeah, you were single handedly responsible for finishing off 2 Costco size spray
I will
sunscreen.
not apologize for not trying to get cancer.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, anyways, back to what we were talking about, the
Yeah.
comedy shows. I felt it necessary. We talked
Mhm.
before you got here about if you're gonna come to LA for the first time, and us being comedy nerds,
Yeah.
I was like, you cannot leave here without going to one of the 3 comedy store rooms.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been your first like California purchase, was tickets to the Belly Room
Yeah.
In Hollywood.
So yeah, because you were like, hey, like we need it. I was like, yeah, we of course we do. And so I first scoured like, oh, okay, like what LA comedians do I like? And then let's see where they're performing. Like, because I
Mm-hmm.
would love to see a comedian I really like. So at the Belly Room, it that Friday night was supposed to
John
be
Johnny
yeah,
P. Johnny Pemberton.
Johnny Pemberton.
Come on the podcast, Johnny. We love you.
Yeah, he's a Midwest boy. He's from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and is a 50-year-old man trapped in a 13-year-old body, apparently.
Yeah, he can
Like,
still play high schoolers. He's like the Ralph Macchio of our era.
yeah, he doesn't age somehow. And
Yeah.
like not in like a weird like he has a like disease way. It's just like
Yeah, not in the Andy Milonakis way.
yeah.
In the he just doesn't age at all.
Yeah, has some
Like
type
Paul
of
Rudd.
genetic, yeah, very Paul Ruddy in that
Yeah.
instance of just got to a state and just didn't age.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, we went to the Belly Room, which is on famous Sunset Boulevard
Mm-hmm.
which was
In
really
Hollywood.
cool in Hollywood. It was I think really cool because like I was joking, or like I joke with you all the time about like Midwest moms being like, "Oh, you live in LA, so you must see celebrities everywhere you go. They must just be everywhere."
Right.
And that was kind of true with the Comedy Store because we saw a handful of comedians
Oh
people
yeah.
would recognize.
Like very famous one. I mean, Eric
Yeah,
Griffin from Workaholics was just hanging out in the hallway. Fucking, we walked right past Bobby. Like Bobby Lee was just walking next to us.
yeah,
I mean, it was pretty cool, man. I really love going down there, and every night that you go to the Comedy Store, you can have one of those
yeah.
experiences.
There's going to be a legit comedian there, like
Mm-hmm.
someone you know, someone you're going to recognize, or like if you mention the name to someone, they're going to know who they are. And like that was, we didn't even go into that part. That was just walking towards the Belly Room to get
Mm-hmm.
to the Belly Room, and not even like the main rooms or stuff. So who know who else, like who knows who's actually like at the bar there or like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't realize the belly room would be like 20 people seating.
Yeah, it's the smallest room. It's very intimate. The
Mhm.
stage is maybe 3 inches off the ground.
Yeah, I think I said when we walked in there, I was like, oh, this is kind of the room where they let me perform.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And unfortunately, Johnny Pemberton did not show up. I don't know what
No.
happened, but we saw very, very
Yeah,
good comedians while we were there.
most worked at the Comedy Store, which means like for a lot of people, that's how they get their chops done, and like that's
Hmm.
how you become famous is by working there and just like
Yeah,
going on stage. And
most
so
of them are door people. They
yeah,
work the door. They check your IDs. They walk you to your seat. They tell you like the rules and stuff like that. Those are the people who do that. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the people who do that at comedy places are generally up and coming comedians who are
yeah.
trying to like get their foot in the door for stage time.
It's a way of being like, hey, I just moved from middle of the Midwest. I need a job, but I'm a comedian who's trying to make it, and that's essentially who those jobs are for. Like, hey, just moved to LA. I'm trying to make it, and we're like, well, we're not going to pay you, but we'll pay you in stage time,
Hmm.
kind of
We'll
thing.
pay you minimum wage, and then you can go up. And all they do is they just clock out for 10-15 minutes, go up and do their set and clock
Yeah,
back in and get back to work. So it's honestly, if you're looking to be a comedian, it's a really good gig. And
yeah, and then like as we were literally just saying, of like there's going to be a big name comedian there all the time, and you get to interact with them, and
yep.
so that is almost invaluable. Of like I've listened to different podcasts of up and coming comedians where they're like, yeah, I got lucky and became friends with big name comedian, and they liked my stuff, so they're like, hey, do you want to be my opener on
You want to
tour?
open for me? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So we had a really good time. Unfortunately, Johnny P did not show up, but fortunately, we did get heckled by the opening comedian, and she asked us a little bit about ourselves. And Christian had the audacity and the gall to shout out the podcast, which I was
Well,
embarrassed about.
first she asked me, is that a seal next to you?
Yeah. Who brought the seal?
And then she asked, "Oh, what are you doing?" I think I became like I was from out of town,
And then
and
I
I
started
think
singing "Kiss from a Rose" from Seal.
yes.
Yeah.
Did you know? um, no, you're part of the Beach Boys. We've been over this. The
I don't know
um,
if anybody's going to listen to that episode. By the way, it's coming out. I think at this point on the
it,
15th
it,
or whatever. But it's don't listen to that one. It was bad.
I thought we were doing it, but I don't. Yeah, we'll figure that one out. I don't know if
Anyways,
anyone. But I think I was like, oh yeah, me and him do a podcast together, just like everybody else here.
yeah, I was
And
so
she got a
embarrassed,
good
and
laugh.
I put my head down. I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this.
And then
Ask me any other questions. And then
what?
so you
What?
mentioned the name of the podcast.
Yep.
You said it's because she asked what we were doing there, and we were like seeing
Yeah.
comedy, and she's like, no, what do you do? And then you said we do a podcast just like everybody else. She said, what's the name of it? You said the name, and then she goes, oh, is that about all the missing women? And then you and I proceeded to double down and say, yes, it is, and you are the next topic.
Yes, you're the next thing we're
You're the
gonna
next
talk about.
episode. And so we got into a good it was probably a good 3 minute back and forth bit between us and her. And
Yeah,
who was there while we were doing that?
the roast master, Jeff Ross.
Yes, sir, Jeffrey
The
Ross. The
the
alopecia.
naked
Yeah.
mole rat, terrifying looking Jeff Ross.
Yeah. The
He,
alopecia master was there.
yep. So he is aware of the podcast.
And surprise, let's bring him in, Jeff. I'm just kidding. He's not actually here. He would never.
Yeah, he would never come to West Covina.
No, he would never be on this fucking podcast. I don't know if he's ever even been on a podcast.
Oh, that's a good point. I guess I don't think I've ever. To be
I've never
fair,
seen him on one.
I feel like he would be like on Rogan or something.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I
But yeah, he
yeah.
was there. He heard the shout out. I wish we had our merch that we've been trying to work on for a couple months now. Wish
Yeah.
we could have handed that out, but fuck it, who cares? No one's
Yeah.
gonna listen regardless.
Hey, we did out of my visit. We did gain a listener, but
That's true.
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, yeah.
As we keep.
So
Yeah,
break
it's
it down
and
a
then
little bit. So you're back home. Give us a little like debrief because I don't have
well,
a whole lot to talk about today.
we didn't
So
talk about the second comedy show.
oh shit, I actually almost forgot about that. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
So the
Down
second
in Long Beach,
no Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. That's right.
Yeah, so that was cool. So another comedian I've seen a few times, and he's one of my Abby's favorite podcasters. His name's Chris Fairbanks, who again we were supposed to see.
Yep. Shout out
Uh,
Chris Fairbanks. Come on the pod.
yeah, he might.
He might.
Maybe
See.
someday.
He'll make it up to us for missing the show.
Yeah. So it was out in Santa Monica, like kind of way different vibe in a very small theater, like in an alleyway where like the host was also our bartender and our server, and he might have been Mick. So that was also a pretty small room.
Mm-hmm. We had very intimate shows, which I actually kind of liked.
I love those kind of shows. We were less interactive because there were more attention seeking people, I guess is the best term.
Mm-hmm.
But again, great comedy show. And for me, it was kind of funny. So like they're like, okay, we're gonna bring on our last comedian, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be Chris Fairbanks. And then a guy walks out, and it's not Chris Fairbanks. And so like I'm on a weird roller coaster where I'm like, oh man, so I'm going down. And then I realize it's actually a comedian I would love to see. Chad Kroger of Chad and JT, of the Netflix television show. It's him. And I was like,
that was pretty cool.
If it's not Chris Fairbanks, I'm super glad it's this guy. Like, it was really nice, and he fucking killed it. And
yeah, he was on fire, dude. He was killing it.
Yeah, he just and then like after the show, I even got, I don't know why, I was just like, hey, great set, man. And shook his hand.
Well, I mean, we were like walking out. Literally, we were me and Abby were probably the first three out of the bar, and he was right behind us and was walking the exact same direction as us for like a mile. So we were just like walking next to him after a set. So that's the kind of shit that happens here a lot of times. He was literally just walking to his next set, took a left, and then all of a sudden was gone. So I'm assuming he was just at his next set doing his next performance.
Yeah, because being a Saturday night. But so that was a lot of fun. Kind of gave me the itch to try to do comedy again. We'll see.
Why not? Give it a shot. Maybe if you get back into it, maybe I'll give it a shot. I've always been on the fence about it, and I don't know, man. I'm not much of a writer is my problem.
See, I love doing comedy, but open mics here in Lincoln, with it being a college town, don't start till 10 p.m. and like that's my bedtime.
Yep.
And like now that I'm a new comic again, or like a comic in a new city again where no one knows who I am, I'm not going on until past midnight.
Oh, for sure. If you're lucky.
Yeah, like that's the thing about moving is like, again, I wasn't like super huge in the Des Moines comedy scene, but people.
Oh, we know. Look, I was no Jim Gaffigan, okay?
Yes. But people knew who I was, so I didn't have to go at midnight. Like I got to go at reasonable times and would get home. And like the open mic I did a lot started at 7 because it was mostly like middle-aged men having midlife crisis.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And so like we were like, I was home by 10 every night, which was nice. Or we'd go to the other open mic and try to do 2 open mics. But like now it's like, do I really want to restart again?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and then you gotta determine, like, do I do all new bits? Do I go in with old bits? What do I do here? Like,
yeah, what do I remember from my old bits? Even
would you do you think you would go into Omaha to do it too? Because they have some good rooms over there.
Yeah, they do. I've done a few. Even when I lived in Des Moines, we would come out and do a few sets here in Omaha. I've actually done the shout out to the Backline in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
It's the comedy club.
Isn't that the newest one, by the way? Didn't they? Yeah. Isn't that like the newest club there?
Yeah. It's the best actual comedy club in Omaha. Like the Funny Bone exists, but like it's so far away. It's out in like West Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's like heart of downtown. It feels more it's like it feels like more like the Belly Room where it's a little more intimate and
More
like
like a bar show.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really nice. I like it a lot. But I don't know if I because then again, add in the time of driving up to
Yeah.
Omaha and then
Yeah,
yeah, I know
for
I'm
sure.
bitching about it, but and also we have the podcast, which has helped my. If we didn't have the podcast, I'd be more likely to do comedy again.
That's kind of my thing too. Is I was really considering comedy for like a year,
Yeah,
and I found that the podcast kind of scratches that itch for me,
mm-hmm.
where I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to be able to have some fun and talk shit. I don't necessarily love the idea of the thing with stand up, and I know for some reason we're in this weird comedy like zone right now, but let's just
yeah,
go with it. The thing with stand up is there is a clear expectation when you get up on that
mm-hmm.
stage for stand up.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily love that idea because I don't it's not like I'm writing things. Like when we do this podcast, we don't have anything written down. We don't have
yeah,
anything that we're going to talk about. We kind of just fucking freeform it, which may be why we don't have any listeners. But the point is that we don't suffer the immediate consequences
yeah,
of a failed bit, and we can take our time to maybe like if something doesn't hit, we can go back and forth with each other and build it into something maybe. Whereas in stand up, if you say something that doesn't hit, you just have to live in that.
and it's
And that's the
also
thing that I'm like, I don't know if I care enough to do something like that. I also don't have much time in my life to sit
mm-hmm.
down and write bits and go out and perform them and then rework them and then go out and try it again. Like I just don't know if I have that dedication right now.
it's yeah. Um, with
I'm also not
do
very funny, so that doesn't help.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Only funny looking.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's like you said. It is so isolating when you're up there because of it. And also with comedy, I think especially in LA comedy, it's all or nothing. It's either your
Yes.
complete life, that's all you do, that's all you're focused on, or you kind of don't do it. Like,
Yeah. Because why would you waste your time? Like I don't know.
yeah,
It's almost kind of what you were talking about with the Olympics.
yeah,
So I'm just going to go up there never having written anything before and shoot from the hip while these people have been working for some like open micers here have been doing stand up for 5 years.
yeah,
Like I don't know, it's just very intimidating to go and do something for the first time when everybody else there has been doing it for a very very long time.
mm-hmm.
And they're doing open mics and it's not that they're getting paid for it.
Yeah,
So it's almost an insult to walk up and be like, "Hey, welcome back to the Triple R podcast." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know that I like that
yeah,
idea, but I love stand up so much, and I think it's okay for me to love something and not want to like pursue it, kind of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I get that. As I've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, of like, I just mostly did it to make friends in the
Mm-hmm.
new city. Like, and so
And the
that,
hours just don't work out if you. Well, I have to pay bills. I have a house. I have to like pay mortgage and shit. I can't.
that,
I would have to do that along with my 9 to 5, which I don't have the effort for.
which, yeah, I will say a lot of the comedians my age in Des Moines weren't professionals.
Right.
Not in professional in the way of no, they were legit no, like in the essence of like having
It's not their full-time job.
or like yeah, they don't have full time, like they don't have jobs with 401ks, I think is what I'm
Sure.
trying to say. Like
Sure.
that kind of profession, like white collar jobs, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That
Yeah.
sounds super pretentious to say it that way, but
No, but I think it's true, and I think that's why it's just like I don't know that I want to dedicate time to it because I know that
mhm.
I won't have the time to be able to dedicate to being good at it.
Yeah.
Whereas with the podcast, we can do it whenever we want. You don't have to really write anything. You can kind of just bullshit, and there's really no expectations for it because
Yeah.
everyone in the world has a podcast.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if you're good or bad. If you get a niche group of 30 or 40 people, that's pretty good.
Well, it's also the niceness of like at an open mic of all, I'm going to use one of your steal metaphor. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to steal your thoughts and metaphors of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, imagine now, like you have to show up to a place. First, you have to listen to 20 other people's podcasts. Then you get to talk. Then you get to do your podcast.
Right.
That's, I think, also, it's just like, and like, I get it's the process, and like I did this, of course. Like you're working out your jokes, you're trying to make punch up your jokes, make them better, but also you're like each week you're hearing the same jokes.
Yeah.
I think it's the same, like that also
And you're
gets kind of
telling the
cheesy.
same jokes over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And I think that's why I like the podcast, is because sure we talk about some of the same stuff every once in a while,
yeah,
but it's never the same buildup. It's never the same premise. It's never repeating word for word to get the same outcome. It's
yeah,
always something a little different, which I like better. I think I'm more of a situational type of person where I would rather exist in the moment than have
yeah.
something pre-prepared and expect a reaction from it. I'm okay. It's so funny because I'm okay with when we're in a group of people, like when we're partying,
Yeah,
if something happens in the moment and I do a riff about it, if it doesn't hit, it doesn't affect me at all. Because
yeah,
I'm like, it was just in the moment. I just swung and it was a miss. But there's something so vulnerable and like intimidating about going up with something that you've pre-written
yeah.
with the
That you've
expectation
worked,
of it.
yes,
Exactly. With the expectation of it hitting and everybody understanding what you're doing,
yeah,
that I don't like. When you're just
yeah,
doing it off the cuff, it's easier to just absorb that miss.
yeah. I almost wish there was like this like weird in between of like stand up and improv, because like improv is like too much almost for me, like of like
And I did that in forensics in all 4 years of high school.
yeah.
I did a lot of improv for like competitive. I don't
Hmm.
know if everybody knows what forensics is, but it's like
Yeah, when you
competitive
first said that
acting, kind
forensics,
of.
I was like, CSI, you looking at dead bodies and be like, he's been dead for 4 days. You can tell by the
If
decay.
you look at the blood spatter on the wall, no,
That's what
no,
at
it's
first
like,
I was like, I was just rolling with it. I was like,
yeah,
whatever.
no, it's essentially, the way I describe it to people is just competitive acting or competitive
Yeah.
speech and debate or competitive. It's essentially just competitive reading. I
Yeah.
mean, I did poetry, I did dramatic interpretation, and then I did comedy improv. So those are my three that I did. But improv was one of my favorite things because speaking of breakdancing, one of the things that got me to state in comedic improv was it was a duo improv. So it was me and my
Mhm.
partner. And one of the characters that I took on out of nowhere was Rosie O'Donnell. And instead of playing Rosie O'Donnell, I played the most extreme version of her, which was a
Yeah.
competitive breakdancer. So I literally started fake breakdancing in the middle
Yeah.
of this room, out of like off the cuff, and that's what got us to state. So it's just one of those things where I went with that, and it's a really dumb topic, but because it was off the cuff and in the
Yeah.
moment with just a split second of lead time, it was funnier than it would have been if I would have tried to write that.
That's true.
You know,
That's I think your best high school performance is captured in Keegan's Mr. Millard West video submission.
once again, nothing pre-written. Just turned on the camera and started doing bullshit. That's a
Oh,
fun
you
one.
can tell.
Yeah, it's very obvious, and there's a reason Keegan did not win Mr. Millard West.
That
Speaking of
I
stand up, he actually did stand up for his Mr. Millard West.
he did. That's online. So link in the description. He
Yeah,
would hate us.
he would hate us for that, but it's on YouTube. You can go find it.
Yeah,
Keegan Hansen, Mr. Millard West. It's on there.
yeah, it's somewhere on there. But yeah, I
I still
remember
remember. I still remember his joke that killed almost word
that.
for word, which is the other day I was walking down the street and I passed a psychic shop and I saw that it was permanently closed. You would have thought they'd see that coming.
That's actually a pretty good
It's a
bit.
pretty good bit. Honestly, it
That is
killed.
a pretty good bit.
Yeah, it killed.
Oh man, yep, I've seen that. I just remember seeing that video and like knowing what Millard West is as a school, being like, "Oh, this did not go over well." There
No,
was probably how I imagine it is they're having to play it in front of everybody in an auditorium, and then that goes up. Everyone else is silent, but your guys'
Me
group of
doing my
friends
seal laugh in the back.
are just fucking losing it.
To be fair, though, I did get a lot of dude. That was like people would come up to me afterwards for a couple weeks, and that was so
Yeah.
fucking funny, dude. So I don't know. It hit where it hit. It didn't
Yeah.
hit the auditorium as well, but the people who got it really liked it.
Yeah. That is, I could 100% understand that.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get off the comedy topic because it's boring as shit for most people who don't care.
Yeah.
Give us a synopsis of your time in LA because you were not looking forward to it. You still don't believe Hollywood exists,
I didn't
even though
see the
you were in
sign.
it.
I did not see the sign.
Yeah,
So
you were
I think
in
that's me.
Hollywood and you still didn't see the sign. It is not the most obvious sign.
Yeah.
Like you grow up thinking that the Hollywood sign is just everywhere. You can just
Yeah.
see it from anywhere, and it's
I
very
legitimately thought that. Like,
yeah, it's
that's,
very not visible for the most part.
I pretty much only really saw the 10,
Yeah, pretty much everything you
which
did was off the 10 freeway.
it legitimately was. So for people who don't know LA, the 10, because you have to call it the 10
Yeah, you
in
can't call it anything else.
is Interstate 10 that is pretty much goes east to west the entire from the ocean to pretty much does it go, is that the one that goes all the way to Vegas, or is it a different one?
I mean, keep in mind I'm an idiot and I don't know anything about
Yeah.
this stuff, but I'm pretty sure that to get to Phoenix, we just hop on the 10 and
Yeah,
it takes us all the way there. It's a straight shot, if I
so
remember right.
it almost kind of divides LA into like the LA metro, North and South LA.
Yeah,
It's very busy all the time, no matter
yeah,
what time. Actually, no, the only time I took it, probably one of the only times it was the least busy, because I had a red eye that didn't get in until I didn't leave the airport until like 1ish in the morning.
hmm
And so I was driving to Damien's house. His exact address is in the
Put it
link
in the
below.
description.
Um, but I was like, oh, that's not too bad. And like, I was just fucking flying down the interstate because I could.
Yeah, that's about the one time that you get on the 10 that you can just hit 95, no problem.
Yeah, and no one bats an eye because everyone else is going 95 because everyone's so excited that
Yeah,
they can go that fast. Yeah, I do enjoy LA. I think I told you this, Damien. I like it for definitely visiting, but I could never see myself living there.
yeah,
Because of, even though Lincoln is not big at all, we don't get everything. Where I live in Lincoln to access pretty much everything I want, like, be it like I only live like less than 10-minute drive to downtown where there's really good restaurants. That's where the nice arena is. It's where the university is, like all that kind of stuff. But I still live, 10 minutes from like a Costco and like
hmm
Target and all those things. For what it would, if I was trying to do that equivalent to LA, that is going to be like a $2 million house. Like,
yeah,
it's just not feasible. Because yeah, that's like, your area in LA is gorgeous. Your house was amazing. Your pool is amazing. It's like what I would consider like the typical what you would want of a California house, right?
hmm
We ate the also, Damien has like a fucking a produce section of a backyard
yeah,
of fruit. Things that I would never think of like growing on trees.
yeah.
You have
Pomegranates, figs, a lavender bush. We have
avocado.
hibiscus, avocado, oranges, peaches. Like I don't know, some sort of apple thing. I don't know what it is, but they're really good.
Yeah. Or
Dragon fruits,
yeah.
which you tried for the first time.
Yes, I didn't, and I am trying to find one in Lincoln. My guess is I might have to. Whole Foods is going to be my first. Being like,
Yeah,
I don't think the normal grocery store is going to have it. If that doesn't work, we have a high amount of like Asian markets
that's where
that
you're gonna
would.
find it.
I think for sure I'll find it there because we have Little Saigon in Lincoln.
I remember you. I picked it right off of the
Yeah,
dragon fruit cactus. It's kind of like a cactus, but I picked it right off of that.
Yeah.
And I was cutting it up, and I asked you if you wanted it, and you're like, I don't know, man. What does it taste like? And I was like, I'm not gonna describe it to you. Either you want some or you don't. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
And then you took a bite, and you were like, oh, it's like a better kiwi. I was like, okay,
yeah,
that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, it's like a
it's like
better
a
kiwi.
more sweet, tender kiwi because it has like the seeds and stuff in it that don't.
Because like with a kiwi, if you think I'm going to drink kiwi juice, that sounds
Yeah.
gross. Like it's not good enough to have a juice from it. You could
Yeah.
100% have a glass of dragon
Oh,
fruit
yeah.
juice.
I think I've had like from Asian restaurants juice with dragon fruit in it.
It's
just
so good.
it's a very intimidating looking fruit. It's like
Yeah, it's
like
spiky and it grows off, like the cactus that it grows on is spiky as well.
Yeah, it doesn't look. You're like this. Not sure about this.
Yeah, so we have a lot of edible plants in our yard, which I think you were very surprised by.
Yeah, I was shocked by some of that because again, just things that literally don't grow here that no one has here. Like some people might have an apple tree, but mostly those are at orchards.
Oh, and we also have a mulberry tree, which you were like, I thought that was a bush. I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely mulberries.
Yeah, the song is isn't the song all around the mulberry bush?
Mm-hmm. The monkey did chase the weasel.
Yeah. Is that a sex euphemism?
It 100% is.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool, and I think it was great. But I think another thing that kind of like changed my perception was like we went to the comedy show, and then we went down to the Santa Monica Pier at night, which was really cool.
Really
everything
awesome.
was closing by where, but it was a comment like you and your Abby said of, oh, like we'd never come down here, and it's like. I get that. Like it was an hour drive. You have your normal life, but it's like, yeah, I guess that like one of the big attractions for me was like, I love the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I saw it twice. Didn't go into it, which is kind of funny, but
which is okay. Also, I mean, I don't know. The best part of the ocean is just seeing it, in my opinion. I don't really like getting in California, at least.
Yeah, the atmosphere, especially in LA, like
it's not the best. It's very, very cold and dirty.
Yeah. And I was going to dip my feet in, but you've seen my feet. So I was like, probably
don't do that. Don't do that to the fish, dude. Come on. They're going through enough with all the oil spills and overfishing. They don't need that.
I don't need to add that to the ocean.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, of that essence of like, okay. And then like you mentioned, like, it is really cool. LA does get every concert imaginable, which is like one thing I don't like about living in Lincoln is like, I usually have to go to Kansas City or like if it's a concert I really, really want to go to Minneapolis, and that's a 6-hour drive. Like it's a full weekend event and like I have to carve out time, and that's if I really want to see someone.
That's the best part about the concerts here too, is because, for instance, next weekend, this is just like a quick synopsis of what Christian's talking about. So next weekend, we're seeing Mark Normand in Anaheim. So one of my favorite comedians of all time is coming to Anaheim. The very next day is a concert, but it's kind of like a festival, and it's outside also in Anaheim. But it's a festival of bands that nobody's ever heard of that Abby and I really like.
Yeah.
That, on Spotify, they have like 4,000 followers. And we're just going to go see a concert full of, essentially, I put it in quotes here, no-name bands that we love. You can't get that in Nebraska. I mean, the no-name bands are not coming to Lincoln, Nebraska for a festival.
It's, and
that's like in 2 days, Friday and Saturday. That's back to back.
Speaking of that, of like no-name bands, as we're going to call them, I really like those kind of bands as well that you like randomly find on a spot. Some of them are just like based out of LA, so you can go catch them whenever. They're a local band, right? Which means a lot different than a local band in Omaha because they're probably, if they're in LA, probably on the cusp, which is really cool. And it feels like Omaha used to get a lot of it still does, but I feel like when I look at tour lists, like the Midwest is like even Kansas City's getting skipped over nowadays, and they used to get everything, and that kind of sucks. But you guys get everything, but then you were talking about like how much it costs to go see the, like even parking's more expensive than the ticket. Like you were
Yep.
talking about the Kia Forum, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like that whole process, you're like, well, tickets are 100, and that's for like the nosebleeds, 100 each, and then plus fees, and then parking's another 80 just to park anywhere near the forum. And I was like,
Plus, it's an hour
oh
and a half away.
yeah.
You know,
And so it's like, yeah, you do get everything, but also you can't go to like,
how bad do you want it?
yeah,
I think that's the motto of LA. How
yeah,
bad do you want it?
yeah,
Because it's available, but how bad do you want it? Because it's not going to be easy. I mean, for instance, we just went and saw A Day to Remember
yeah,
in San Diego because driving 2.5 hours, actually, it was like a 4 hour drive because of the
yeah,
traffic,
yeah.
but driving the 3.5, 4 hours to San Diego was a way cheaper option than just going to the Kia Forum in Inglewood because tickets in LA were $110 a piece,
Yeah.
plus parking is about $45. The tickets in San Diego were $45 each, and we didn't have to pay for parking because we were already at a hotel.
Yeah. Like,
So it's like, yeah, that's a no brainer. I'm just going to drive to San Diego, and then we can hang out in San Diego for the weekend.
mm-hmm. It's, yeah. And another aspect of LA, I know I've already talked about the traffic and all that, but yeah, it just takes forever to do things. And as a person who is not great at like time constraints,
And patience.
and yeah, and that kind of thing, I like being like, that was not like, I think I joked with you because I didn't fly. I flew into Kansas City because it was just much cheaper in a direct flight, which was nicer.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that another thing. I'll go on also on a quick tangent. LAX fucking sucks. That
Oh,
is
it's
one of
terrible.
the worst airports I've ever been to. It
It's terrible.
for being a one of the biggest airports in the US and one of like the entry points of the world, and like it is miserable. There's no
Yeah.
seating. Like I was in the poor people terminal because I flew Spirit. Um, but even then, I don't know if the other ones are nicer if they make them more fancy.
Nah,
But
not really.
literally, just I had to sit on the ground to eat my sandwich because there just wasn't enough seat. It's just, and like getting on our plane was interesting because the terminal doors are like way too close to get on the
Yeah.
plane, and there was another flight for us leaving to Seattle at the same time. So the two lines are literally next to each other, and like there was this like they started to mix at one point. So
Yeah.
people, I was like, which one do I get? Like,
Am
I
I getting
think
on the
so,
wrong flight?
it was a deep concern
Uh huh.
actually for
I've
some
been
people.
there.
Yeah, that was miserable. But
Did you
so
have
I
to? Did they when you boarded the plane? Did you have to walk on the tarmac first?
no, I was able
Okay,
just to
that's
walk
a
on the
regular thing. You go through the doors, you walk down the
yeah.
ramp, and then you're just walking on the tarmac to get up to your plane.
Oh god, that would have been miserable in that heat too.
Oh
Just
yeah,
the hot. But so I landed, and so I had to drive like 2.5 hours back to Lincoln. But I think I texted or voice texted you because we don't believe in texting and driving on this podcast. We're safe people. Of I got to use cruise control because I didn't get to use cruise control once in
yeah.
LA.
No,
That like
that's cruise control is one of those things you turn on for 2 minutes to stretch your ankles after you've been
yeah.
driving for 2.5 hours. You turn it
Mm-hmm.
on in a clear path for 2 minutes to stretch your legs a little bit, and then you immediately have to take it back
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of nice. And so
Not as
no,
pretty of a drive though.
that's true.
The
I
mountains
will.
here are you. I think you mentioned that multiple times. Where you're like,
Yep.
there is something very sensational about. You're like, yeah, the traffic sucks, but at least you have something cool to look at.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially
you got
because
the
like,
mountains and the palm trees.
especially when I was, because I went to a museum up in Pasadena, and like Pasadena was beautiful too.
Dude,
Like,
that whole area, like Pasadena, Burbank,
yeah,
North Hollywood, all that area is just, and it's actually surprising. While you were up there, you didn't see the Hollywood sign because you start getting into the Burbank area, which is pretty close
yeah,
to Pasadena. That's when you start seeing the sign. But yeah, I mean, every house is built into the mountains. up there, and they're all $4 or $5 million
Yeah,
mansions. I mean, it's just crazy.
they looked like it. And again, I love the ocean dearly, especially being a person who's only lived in landlocked states. So
Yeah,
that's like, even though I didn't go into it, I did really love running along the beach. And it was kind of cool. So like I got back here, and I love skateboarding, and Venice is like one of the skateboarding capitals of the world. And so one of the skateboarders I really liked released a video recently that I finally got to watch, and part of it was shot in Venice, where it's like I knew exactly where that is. Like I
yep.
ran past that, so that was pretty cool. Like,
I
and
think
again,
that's something that still hasn't worn off for me, even after the 6 or almost 6 years that I've lived
yeah,
here, is just the amount of things that you saw as a kid, maybe on TV or in
mm-hmm.
movies or music videos or whatever the fuck you're watching. You just happen upon those in your daily life.
Yeah,
I think that's something that still has. It's almost like the celebrity thing that you were talking
yeah,
about. You just there's just this guy who I grew up watching on TV. All of a sudden, just
yeah,
walking around like. So I still think that's probably one of the things that you just can't plan for because
mm-hmm.
it's so common that you just
Yeah,
go, oh yeah, I guess I just see people or I just see things now that I grew up with.
yeah. Yeah, that is really cool of a thing of just being like, yeah, it is famous for a reason. There is a reason a lot of people go out there, and like I feel like we didn't really do that touristy of things. Like
No,
I went to museums, of course, as again we've talked about a lot on this podcast. Damien's not the most favorite thing.
it's fine.
I would I wouldn't recommend. I went to, I think it's called Simmons. That was the one in Pasadena. That one was
Hmm.
really arty, and like it was okay. They had some cool pieces, but the Getty Center, which is always ranked as like the top museum to go to, I do like, even if you don't really like art, just it is like impressive building. There's like the architecture and stuff, and it's
Right.
free.
Hmm.
And like you have to take a tram. It was a lot bit more touristy, of course, because it was like you had to tickets are free, but you have to pre-book, and then like you have to go through security. Like I've never had that like with the museum before that I've known.
Yeah.
But I would say if anyone, whoever comes to visit you next, maybe Abby's mom, I would recommend it. It was pretty cool. Like the actual building's cool, and they do have some cool stuff.
And they have a lot of really cool like flower gardens
Yes, they
and
do.
a lot of really cool like what are those things called where they have like all the trees and all the like fruit trees and all the arboretum. They have a lot of cool
Oh yeah,
arboretums around
yep, they
here
do.
where you
Yeah,
just go and you can we went with when we first moved here we went with some of Abby's best friends
okay,
and it was in Arcadia and you're just walking through the arboretum and you just pick an orange off the tree and eat
yeah,
it. You just walk and there's, all these different trees that you've never seen, like a peach bush or
yeah,
peach tree, whatever the fuck they are, and you just pick stuff off and eat them and it's like encouraged. You don't get
yeah.
that most other places. So
No,
there's just like a never ending supply of things that you can do. And while you were here, we hit none of them.
yeah,
So I think that's the thing that I was like, this was mostly for the podcast, which is
yeah.
unfortunate because they turned out like shit. So I apologize in advance, or I guess now actually retroactively because
Post,
this is after
yes,
that. But I apologize about all those. But I mean, there's only so much you can do, and next time we'll make sure we have some mixers and stuff. But yeah, we didn't
yeah,
hit the Walk of Fame. We didn't hit any of like the clubs that are notorious. We didn't go to Hollywood. We didn't go to Universal Studios. We
no.
didn't go to Disneyland. We didn't do
Which,
really
which,
anything except
yeah, just
podcasts.
your normal life, like, and I did that kind of intentionally because I feel bad. My Abby wasn't able to come because she started a new job and just didn't have, and so like in back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna save more of the touristy stuff when she comes because she loves old Hollywood. Like
Yeah,
we'll do the cheesy bus
of
tours, like
course.
the double
And you guys have to
decker.
do the Universal and the Warner Brothers tour. I mean,
Yep.
if she loves old Hollywood, you get to go see all of the sets that all of your
Yeah.
favorite stuff was filmed on. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be a really good Oscar museum.
Uh huh.
And so yeah, I was saving that all for when she is able to make it. And so this was more of, yeah, just like, okay, Damien's kind of your normal life. Like we hung out with your friends, JM,
Hmm.
and Jeff, who were on here. We did JM's birthday party, which was a
which
lot
was
of
a
fun.
blast.
Which you may have saw some of the clips. You gotta see. I feel like we needed to put a not safe for work warning on the one with my feet, because
Yeah, that was bad news. What are those?
that's on you, man. I didn't want to show my feet. I know now.
Like I said, when I'm in the moment, sometimes it just happens.
It's I to all listeners. I know how bad they are. I could with Spirit. You can only pack so many shoes, and those were the only ones I could fit besides my gross bloody running shoes. So it was a toss up on which ones I should have wore to the party, and so yeah, no, I definitely want to come back. My Abby really does. I had a great time. Very tired, but I had to go back to I didn't get back to Lincoln until like 11 p.m. and had to work the next day. So the next day was a little, and as 2 hour time difference doesn't sound like a lot, but it's enough to fuck up your sleep.
Yeah, it'll ruin it for about a week. So I think that's why we kind of waited this long to do a follow up, because
Mhm.
it was like you got to get back into your rhythm and stuff. I mean, every time I come back to Omaha, by the time we get back, I need minimum 3 full days to recover.
Yeah.
So we were like, yeah, let's put it off for a couple of days and do a synopsis later, so that you can really not only like recover a little bit, but maybe think about some stuff that you did that you want to talk about, and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's tough to get back, but it was fun. I know the quality of the sound wasn't great on the episodes,
Oh God,
but
yeah.
I'm hoping that people see how much more focused the conversations are,
Yeah.
as opposed to like I think it's a little distracting being away. Like there's a little bit of a gap
Mm-hmm.
in conversations over the internet, and when you're in person, it almost sounds like you're interrupting constantly. But that's
Yeah.
like the flow of what an actual conversation
I
is. So it's
think
probably a little like discombobulating on top of it being shitty sound. So I
yeah.
hope they at least understand like what we were going for, and with the understanding of like it'll be better next time. I think next time I'm going to come to you. We'll have a mixer. We'll make it sound a little bit better. Maybe we'll have some Omaha or
Yeah.
Nebraska people come out and meet us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it was some of our best interviewing just because
yeah,
it was in person. I think it was also topics we did not know a lot about. More with Jeff's, of course, because of us not knowing much about Buddhism, and even with
hmm
JM, just learning about his background of living in California, and also, don't worry, people, we'll go back to just white men only on
yeah,
this
yeah.
circuit.
At some point, also, I think just a quick synopsis of that too. I think we'll probably try to get back into some more of just Christian and I for a little while. We've had a very, very long run of guests, which is great and it
Yeah,
honestly impressive at this point. But I do think there is a little bit of a call to arms of, well, when are we going to get back to just Christian and Damien? So we'll do stuff like this a little bit more
yeah,
often as well. We wanted to see what our interview skills are like, because eventually we'd love to have some, you know, I would still love to have the director and creator of Snack Shack on, and
yeah,
so we got to build our chops to that. But yeah, we'll start doing some more one-on-one stuff again here. So
yeah.
I think that's it for today. That was a quick synopsis of LA. Tune into our YouTube channel for more shorts and clips of what happened, and tune in. I know our viewership is dwindling, and I don't know what to do about that. So
Just
that
keep,
sucks.
yeah. No. Hey, like we talked with comedy, don't get mad at the people who are listening. So if
Yeah,
you are listening, please keep listening. We love
appreciate it.
it. Again, we're just a couple of idiots that like to yell into the void. So,
Yeah,
and recommend us to your friends if you like
yeah.
it.
Follow us
Maybe
on
we'll like it.
socials, share our episodes, and we
Yeah.
will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.